Hi, I'm Jeff. This is Tropical Plants at 53 degrees north, and today we're going to talk about Nepenthes pitcher plants and what it is that I think with my particular plants is wrong with them that is causing them not to pitcher quite as good as they should. So we're just going to have a little chat about, I think we've got about 5 different species of Nepenthes, and you'll have to excuse the horrendous noise outside because today it's an exceptionally windy day. Let's jump in. Okay, and we're in. Just to give you an idea of what we're coping with today, this is supposedly gusts of 40 miles per hour. Now if that's 40 miles per hour, then I don't know what I am, because to me that is way more than 40 miles per hour. The greenhouse is not exactly moving around, but making some very worrying noises. So if you hear lots of background noise, it's likely to be those trees out there. And I know that the shading is also making odd vibration noises. So anyway, we're here to talk about Nepenthes pitcher plants, and my pitcher plants, which I've kind of been a little bit concerned about some of them. So I'll start off with the smaller ones. So we'll just work our way down here, and we'll start with, I think we'll start with fusca. That's probably my smallest one. Okay, so this one bought 15th of October last year, so we're in May now, 2020. This one does actually have some newish pictures, some quite nicely formed pictures. There's nothing wrong with those, but what it's not doing is it's not making massive leaf jumps. It's very, very slow growing. Like I said, I did have this from October last year, and I would have expected it to make a few more leaf jumps by now. So what we're going to have a chat about is like a general care about these things as well. Now these are still in the media that they came in, and you can see there's lots of moss on the top. I do try to make sure that they're well drained. They don't like to be sitting in water, but they don't like to dry out either. So far, a little bit of a nothing with this one, not much happened with it. 2 new pictures, no leaf jumps, so that's that one. So let's move on. So this one over here is ventrata. Again, this was also bought at the same time, 15th of October last year. Crikey, listen to it, horrendous. So this has got 1 new picture on it. Now I bought this one because I heard that this one was a particularly vigorous grower. Another picture there, but that one's going over now, and it looks like the lid's already gone on that one. A few brown leaves at the bottom there. So all this has produced for me so far is the 1 leaf. I'll just have to put it down while I point to that. So that's 1 new leaf, and that's all that's happened. So it could be one of those plants that are only vigorous once they really get going. You know, at the moment it may just be too young to get going, but I do have some thoughts on why it may not have got going. And this is another very vigorous one. So this is Nepenthes ventricosa. I don't think when I bought this I was actually writing them on, so I don't know when it was. I think I've had it definitely over 12 months, possibly a little bit longer. And it did seem at one point this year that it was starting to get going, but you can see there are no pictures currently on it. Now there are a few reasons for that. One of the reasons is that I wasn't giving them distilled or RO water. What I was actually doing was giving them rainwater, which would be fine, except the rainwater that I've got comes off a garage roof, so it has lots of nutrients in it. So if you think about it, they're only really going to produce pitchers if they are starved of nutrients. Where they grow, on the kind of media they grow in a forest, either be that highland or lowland rainforest, they typically have very poor soils, and this is why they evolved to produce these pitchers. So I'm hoping that's going to start taking off again soon, and I will be cutting off those blackened leaves. So while we're looking at these, let's just have a brief chat about the kind of care that these need. Now, as you can see, I'm not a very experienced grower with these, but I've picked up one or two things along the way. And what I'm doing with this really is I'm scratching my own itch in terms of, I think by doing the video it's forcing me to look it up, and I think I've kind of got to the bottom of what the problem is. First of all, when you get a plant like this one and all the pictures fall off it, that, of course it happens naturally, the pictures like blooms do go over quite naturally, but you tend to find that they will mostly go brown if they're in low light conditions. Now, where these are now on the left side of my greenhouse, I'll just pan back a little bit and I'll just turn you around a little bit. So over on the right here, that's the sunny bright side. However, down at the bottom is quite a shady part, and that's where I had these plants. So you can see straight away that makes you think that perhaps they just weren't in a bright enough position. If I move you up a little bit, so this one is Nepenthes burkei. Let me just grab hold of that label just so we know. So that one was bought 12th of December 2019. Like I say, we're now in May, and this one was in the roof up, excuse me to whiz round here, up there to get lots of bright light, but what had happened was lots of the lower leaves had gone red, which is another indication that you're actually giving it too much light. So what we've got here is we've got too dark, not enough light. How do you know? Because the pictures go brown. Red leaves or yellow leaves, too much light, which tells you that you need to move it somewhere where the light is diffused. So after looking at various sources, and pretty much everybody agrees that Nepenthes like very bright light, but what they don't like is direct sunlight through glass. They grow in the top of canopies, they're climbers, they're climbing vines, and they climb up trees, and they grow in mostly bright but diffused light, and that's the kind of conditions that we're trying to aim for. So that's something that I need to have a think about. See that one in there is growing inside, but it's not, it's got a long tendril, but it's not got a picture on the end. So this one, this burkei, since I moved it here, it seems to be doing better. You can see we've got quite a lot of pictures on here. Now some of these are ones that it came with, but some of them are new ones. So that one's going over now. Now, just in answer to the question, when do you cut these off? Well, when you're fed up of looking at them. I usually wait till the top half has gone brown, and then I'll cut it off the top of the tendril, leaving the leaf on. So you can see there's a new one, completely new, that one, although it's not quite formed its lid properly, and that's another problem. So it could well be that I've got it in too bright light again. So that's something I'm going to have to experiment with and keep an eye on those leaves. I will probably be putting a little bit more shading. There's 60% shading on this greenhouse at the moment. I will be putting a little bit more on as summer progresses. But you've another one coming down here and another one here as well, which again looks like it's not quite forming correctly. So I could be giving that too much light. We'll have to keep our eye on that. So just turning back here towards the three that I've got over here. So I think the answer to this is that these three weren't in bright enough light. Now that I've got them in brighter light, they're in a better position there. They don't get quite as intense a light as the burkei is getting at the moment. Let's hope that that gets them going a little bit. As far as temperatures go, these are all Highland species, so these are okay, roughly about 12 degrees Celsius and above. The temperatures in here do or can get up to 30 rarely. Usually at this time of year it's getting up to roughly between 20 and 25 degrees Celsius. Like I said, there's some more shading to go up at some point, and I've only opened the last couple of days the remainder of the vent windows. So that's, what's that, 1, 2, 3, that's 4 different types. Now Nepenthes do have lots and lots of types and species that have quite a wide range of conditions that they don't mind. So, you know, I'm being pretty general with this here. So I'm going to take you over to my other Highland species Nepenthes. So this one is gaya, that's G-A-Y-A. So yeah, I think I was talking about the water. So I was giving them water which comes from the garage roof, which does have nutrients in it. So I've since moved them. This is one of those things that I knew and forgot again. So I've since moved them over to RO water, so they all get RO water now, so there's no reason they shouldn't picture. This one you can see was particularly affected by having it up in the rafters. I had it over winter, but I must have left it too long, and you can see most of the leaves have gone red. However, the newest leaf is still mostly nice and green. That funny noise you can hear is one of the piece of shading that comes down. It's just kind of vibrating in the wind. Just to get this asparagus fern out of the way. So this one does seem to be doing pretty well. I think I found the right spot for it. I had thought that this one was a little too thin, but it does seem to be inflating now. I'm not sure whether that lid looks like it's going to form properly. We'll just have to see. It does seem to be inflating. Some of these others are quite new on, like this one is a new picture. This one is absolutely full of nectar. I don't touch it because it's very, very sticky. With a few more around there. That's a new one there. If I can just swizz round to the corner there. That one's kind of got stuck behind there. Just have to release that one. That one's probably, that looks like it's grown out of there. Now if I take it out, I'm gonna, there we go. That's kind of grown. It's grown through the mesh, so it's lost all its liquid. So it'll have to get some more of its own. I might pop a little bit in just to help. They do come, when they open, they've usually already got the liquid inside them. They don't really want you to stick water in them. But it's a really nice coloured pictures. It's got some nice coloured pictures on it. A really nice Nepenthes. So I was at first, so one of my other videos not long since, I was a little bit worried about this one, but it does seem to be okay now that I've looked at it properly. So that's the gaya. Watering, well, you should never waterlog them, so if you do sit them on the floor, like these ones are okay, I can water these, and I know they're not going to get waterlogged because it'll drain through, but these ones over here, I have got really well drained. I've got them up on some rocks. That one's in a pot that lifts it up. So if that happens, then you know it's not going to get waterlogged. The media that you need them to be in is going to be very low nutrient, so maybe something like half sphagnum moss and half perlite, or vermiculite of course, and you could use lava rock as well. Now the humidity thing, now I'll just take you through to the warm side if we can cope with all the noise that's going on at the moment. For once it isn't all my fans. You can hear that shading again. For once it isn't all my fans making the noise. I mean one of them. I don't have any actual fans. The noise is coming from up there that you can hear, that vibrating. I've got one of the shades and it's just kind of making a horrendous noise. So over here, what have we got? I'm telling you, it's the shading, it's not me, I promise. Okay, so fertilizer, well, you don't need to fertilize them. They are pretty adept at catching their own food, but if they're in a house and they're not going to get any food, you might want to pop some things into the pictures, some insects and whatnot if you can catch any. So yeah, we said watering shouldn't be waterlogged, and it's a good idea to keep it up on some. I've got that one up on some crocks down there so that it's not sitting in water, so it doesn't get too waterlogged. So these are the Lowland Nepenthes. I've got two species of Lowland Nepenthes, or two hybrids I should say, I guess. So this one is Nepenthes Rebecca Soper. I'll just grab hold of the label so you can see it. There we go, temperatures 15 to 30. So I would class this, and it tells you what the cross is there. I would class this as a Lowland Nepenthes, but of course there are such a wide variety of lowland Nepenthes that temperature, I would just take that with a pinch of salt, because you might have some that like to be higher temperatures than that. So I've got two of the Rebecca Sopers that I divided quite a while back. This one is probably about 3-4 foot tall, and it has bloomed. I cut the blooms off once I'd seen them, just because I wanted it to produce leaves and pitchers rather than blooms. So you can see there are signs on here that it's had too much sun, but there's also signs that it hasn't, or that it isn't in a high enough light position. So the question is, which is it? The fact that it's not got all these pitchers up and down its length, but it does have them down at the base. So that's something else that I've found, that these basal shoots, I'll just move that out of the way, tend to be much easier, and they're in a lower light position as well, but they tend to be much easier at producing the pitchers. A really nice pitcher there. They have this really dark peristome, quite a large pitcher. I've a bigger one over the other side I'll come to in a minute. Another one there. I would say that's the darkest part of the plant at the bottom, yet it's produced the pitchers. There's another one just forming there. So why that is, I don't know, but almost all the sources that I could find tell you that it's the low light that stops them from producing pitchers. Now, I did have a bit of information that the jury's out on it, because many sources say, I'll just turn you around here, there's my humidifier at the bottom, and I've just turned it off now, so the humidity's dropped quite a lot to 43, 42. It's dropping as we speak. It's kept at 70% humidity. That should be plenty enough to produce the pitchers, but for some reason it's not doing. So here's its sister over here, and this one, that's as high as it goes up there, works its way down, no pitchers at all, they all dry up, plenty of curly tendrils at the end. This pitcher, the first one we come across, so that's been there for probably about 12 months, and if we just work your way down through the orchids, that's the biggest pitcher I've had on this one yet. Now that peristome, which is pretty black, does start to colour up a little bit as it ages. Now that's a really nice picture, but again, it's the darkest part of where the plant is, right at the bottom with these basal shoots. These basal shoots do seem to produce the pitchers much easier than the mid and upper part of the plant, and I'm still not sure why. So if anybody's got any ideas as to why that is, because I think I'm following all the rules or all the recommendations. You know, we've got pretty good light conditions here, it's diffused, you know, the fact that they're turning red, some of the leaves turning red should tell you that it's getting enough light. If it was getting too much light, then the whole thing would be turning red, which it isn't. Although down here, if I remember correctly though, I think this particular one, the new leaves are red. And the final one I want to show you today is another species. This is very definitely a lowland species. Struggled a little bit to get this through the winter. This is Nepenthes hookeriana, and I bought this one in November of 2019. So you can see it does have some pictures on it. It's very small. It seems to have all these tiny little basal shoots here at the side, and the pictures have not really done anything other than the ones that we've already got on it, the ones that were on it when it came. I think we might possibly have had a couple of small ones. I can't really remember. It moves that slowly, and again you can see it's got some signs of being a little bit too much in the light there, but yet it's not really doing anything. So if anybody has any experience of hookeriana, it may just be that it is just a slow grower, as most Nepenthes seem to be. They tend to be, they remind me a little bit of orchids in that nothing happens for a very long time, and then over a relatively short period of time they put on a lot of growth, and this particular one for some reason hasn't done that yet. So what I'm doing with this one, I've experimented a little bit. It's been down here, which is kind of a semi-bright spot, so I've been moving it up to the shelving up here, which is a little bit brighter still, just as the sun comes out there. So we'll see what it's like. So as I've probably put up on the pop-up by now, the idea of Lowland, Highland, Intermediate, these are really a guide, and very many Nepenthes are, you know, there's such a wide variety of Nepenthes and wide variety of hybrids that the actual care needs in terms of temperatures vary massively. So there are some that might be classed as Highland, for example, but yet the range of temperatures moves over also into the Intermediate. There are some Lowland ones, again classed as Lowland, but you might find that again the temperatures can move over to, in some cases, right the way through Intermediate to Highland. So you've got to really experiment yourself. Use those as a guide, just like you would with orchids. And if you find it's not doing particularly well in one spot, then give it a try in another spot and see what happens. So yeah, that's my take on Nepenthes at the moment. That's my experience with them. They're very expensive to buy over in the UK, and I have lost quite a number. Not necessarily for anything I did wrong, just because I didn't have the conditions that I knew they liked. I'm now trying to give them the conditions that they like. So it's a case of, well, let's hang on. I think I've got them in the right place. Let's see what happens. I've got these ones, these two, through the winter quite well. The other ones did stall a little bit, but they do seem to be picking up now that I think I've got the light requirements right. So let's just see what happens. Let's let them grow a little bit and see if we manage to get them through the summer, you know, with some good growth on them. So just as we close here, I'll just back up and I'll leave you with the Nepenthes gaya. So if you are an experienced, or even if you're not an experienced Nepenthes grower, and you've got some take on this, you know, you've got some opinions on it, I'm all ears. I'd love to hear about it. If there's anything in its care conditions that I've missed off, anything that's common knowledge but not common knowledge to me, please do make yourself known in the comments. Love to hear from people, and for now I shall say I will see you on the next one. Bye.